Hello, this is Gerald Johan van Waas and the educational channel of demonstrations regarding the theory sounding form. This series of a couple of videos that hang together, or the last couple of videos that hang together, are explaining a little bit more about the theory itself, the structure that is underlying the all the letters, formation of the letters, and they have a structure which is very logical, and that's why it works also for a deeper system that makes the letters also fit with directions. And we're not very conscious of it, but I will thoroughly explain how it works, why it works, but you need to understand the structure, and the structure is, in the beginning, it's actually quite simple. It fits within the structure of 3 dimensions, and there's a logic in it why we use this letter and the next letter and the next letter. It is an order of logic which makes very much sense to make a distinction also in this world of 3 dimensions. And I will show you also some mathematical references that you can use at certain points easily. It is an orientation in space, not much more than that, at least until now. In this video, with the last 3 letters C, M and X, it will show you how much it will fit within our environmental space that we orient ourselves upon. And I already explained a couple of letters in the previous videos, and we started from an opinion, an idea, a general focus actually on how we see the world. And we have a certain perspective, and this perspective we use, and we try to have as a neutral perspective, try to compare it with anything else. So we have a certain norm, and this norm is used anywhere, and that's comparable to a number, actually to the number 1. It's our idea of what a neutral object is, a thing, a thing. A is the letter that is expressing this. It's not coincidental that we already use a letter in the language expressed by a. The a is our reference point, a neutral reference point. We use it and we will work with it. That's the idea, that we start from the A. And any qualities that we see in objects, we see objects and we see some difference in it. All these differences tell us how much it will fit with our idea of what is object, of how the order of the world works. And as long as it can add the up, and it can continue our own thinking process, we will take it as an addition, and it will still fit with what we think is our vision, our world of thinking, our viewpoint, anything with the starting point of what we think, the central thinking. As soon as some elements are added up, and you don't know how much it will still fit, and it might not even fit if we continue to work with it in a regular basis, this is the moment of doubt. This is the third region, it's the third phase that you always have in 3 phases, or in an order that always is repeated again and again. So we have something new, we can add it up, and we can continue to do that and add up same kind of elements, try to make it fit, but at a certain point it needs an adaptation. This world of thinking in 3 parts will continue anywhere. So with this doubtful moment will bring us to something that might need some adaptation and might already be about something else. And this something else is the you. We also say you for something else. In Dutch we also have the letter U, which we use for someone else. It's you, it's the direct next person, you. And there we will add, we will be realizing that there is something else as well, but we have to make it work, that it will fit with our thinking, and we can make a good conversation, a good communication, a good interaction. It's not easy immediately, so it has to have an order, and this order cannot be much different than our own order. So in the growth process, this is the formation process towards something else, towards something new, towards actually also the number 2, an equal number. With the L we make the addition, it evolves further, and when we have the right adaptation, we have the letter B, with which is equally strong, equally in size compared to our starting point of A. We will come to B in that way. And how do we think with letters from that moment, when no longer making additions like with the A, everything is the same, we treat everything the same with the A, but the letters, all the letters that continue from here already say that there is a difference, there are differences, we need adaptations, we need, as soon as we already had the doubt, the K, we know we had to make adaptations, and the adaptations are involving something else, something that is forming, something that is bringing us to something else, so somewhere else. And all these connections are not loosely connected anymore. When we had random objects and we counted them, we had the plus. So with the A we had plus. We had 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, 4 things. They were all equal. If it were 4 things or 1 thing, it's just thing. It is everything. It is one category only. But now we have some adaptations that we need to deal with, and that makes connections, and so we have to calculate, we have to recalculate, we have to see how we have to behave it in one entity. And this makes a new kind of thinking, and if we compare it to mathematics again, this new kind of thinking is of course the multiplication. And that's why combining letters is also more difficult than just adding the things next to each other and see what it gets. No, it's a multiplication of its features, and they add up or need adaptation. It's not just adding up, because it can have a moment of doubt, it can have a moment of adaptation, and that's why there are changes, and a different order makes different changes. And I give you an example of these multiplications. Here we only have 2 letters so far, 2 numbers so far, the number 1 and the number 2. It still makes it easy. If we take, for instance, 3 numbers, 3 letters from the number 1, the A, the T and the K, so it is 3 times 1, so it's 1 multiplied with 1 again, and they are following a division by 1. So if we have that, it's all 1. It is, in other words, it is following 1. It is following our central part of vision, and that's what is the word tak. It's multiplying, but it's also multiplying it in a way that it follows our vision. The K, the doubtful moment, is at the end, so it is already going somewhere else. So tak is also a word that means branch, but tak is also the word yes in Polish. Why does it fit? Because it's a confirmation of the centralized vision, and even if it goes already somewhere else, it is still fitting with that centralized vision. That's why you can use it also for yes. Another word I could use as well. No, I will not make it too difficult yet. So I will keep it to that word. For now, I thought I had another example. I don't think there. Oh yes, I have another example on the next slide. Another example is the word lack. So here I have the number 2 in the middle, in the second division there, and the other letters are the number 1. So it's 2 times 1 times 1, which is 2, or it is in the second category. It ends in the second category. It ends in the formation process. So lack is about formation. Lack is a Dutch word which means lack, but in English it's with a C. It's just a simple example, because if you have more complicated letters, they also have different kind of calculations, which I will later explain as well. But these are simple explanations. We are in the simple starting point, the 1 and the 2, and this logic which I used here is easily found, of course. But okay, that already says how we have to deal logically with letters in these categories slightly. So we all the letters that so I will repeat, all the letters that are combined are multiplications. So in a way they can't be separated anymore. You can divide them into numbers, and you can have a number at the end, and then you see which number is dominating, so which feature will be dominating. That's one of the aspects, and that I explained that already in a very simple example. It will not say everything, but it's already it only says until now this fits quite well. But before we can continue to the next numbers, there are conditions, not only conditions how this works, but also conditions how it can continue to work. Because if you have 1 and then next to it you have 2, so you have 2 comparable things, it can be a coincidence. It can be coincidental. You can always compare one thing with another thing, and even if they are quite different, you can compare them. In a way, it doesn't say that you can always continue to do that, but if you use an order that is an order that fits with 1, a rhythm of 1, a 1 that gets more, so in 2 or in 3 or in 4, the same rhythm, if you can use the same rhythm continuously, then this is the kind of difference that we need to make it work. And this kind of difference is expressed by the next letter after ATK ULB, the next letter is C. And this letter C, there are a lot of words with the letter C that matches actually the description of what you need to make the logic work, to work with the logic of a certain rhythm. What shall we use to make it work? Can we use it? We have to make cooperations for this. What are the conditions with which to continue and to compare it further with the same rhythm? It's all with the letter C, and it all fits well. I already said it is, once you use in the logic, you can use elements that fit together, that are all equal. You only need plus with it. If there are some differences, then you can say, okay, this fits a little bit more and this fits a little bit less. You have the minus, and you have the verticals as well. That's what I explained already. The diagonals you use when you say, okay, is a little bit more here and a little bit more that. It's a bit more variations, and it's and you also start to make categories of what you like more, what you like less, or what there is more, what is less, and or you have, okay, these parts hang together, these hang together. See that these are categories that you can make divisions well, and that way of thinking, you use the diagonal division for that. With the letter K, that's the first diagonal part that we had. It is like you have you put things on each other, and at a certain point, okay, yeah, you see the more and the less, and the more and the less is already a diagonal. But it's also like the K is also used for something that doesn't fit anymore. You have to, you can't continue to add up. The diagonal things are where it doesn't work so well anymore. There are lots of possibilities there, and some of it will work and some of it will not work with the diagonal division or visions that you use in the diagonal way. So you're not very sure what you can continue or what you cannot, but once you have a system, that you have a rhythm, you can continue with it when you're sure, okay, we have a logic that we can continue to use. The K was just it's the first diagonal that you came across, that you had elements that you say, okay, shall I still add it or shall I put it somewhere else, because it's already falling apart, it's already falling aside or whatever, so you couldn't use it. How shall I make an order? If the order adds up in a certain rhythm, you can have a continuation. Okay, I could have used a better logic maybe, but okay, I have already some idea of why the C is there. The C is this, you found the rhythm after one, you have two, and you have even more element to it. You have three together, so you can start to work on three. To start to work on three wants to say you have something to make a balance. It's actually saying you have more than two, and this extra element will make a balance. So you can centralize it further. So it's 2 plus 1. This last one is again like, compared to the first one, it should be able to make a balance. So the C is used to not just for the continuation, but to also to make it possible that there's a continuation, so that together we have three working elements together, and maybe we can adapt it a little bit that we can also make it work, that it has this rhythm that we can use all these things together. That's the way of thinking with these letters that makes it so that we still have an order going towards the number 3. And there are some mathematical dependencies that you can use with these letters. Like I said already, the multiplication is just combining the letters and see how they are balanced to each other. This balance, your norm for the moment is always this 1, of course. So all the calculations are also doing that. So you try to calculate it so that you have a division between the separate elements. Which separate elements do I have? Which certainties of elements, of separated elements do I have? So I always use this number 1. So what are we basically actually doing in these 3 levels, and what can we do on these 3 levels to make it work? And in all of these levels we do something else. We add up our logic slightly different. I'll tell you how we will perform our logic, what we can use as letters, and what the letters can associate to make it work. Let's go to the first level. The first level is the number 1. These are the elements in the one-dimensional space. The level 2 is the two-dimensional space, or the formation process. Everything which is formed gets a form in 2 dimensions, and the context, then with a C, is created in a spatial reality, in a 3-dimensional world. That's our new foundation, where we can already distinctive a lot of elements. I will explain you what are the differences between all the possibilities within these 3 dimensions. So the first level, the first dimension, is actually getting a definition ready for having starting points, the starting points with which to work with. The second level is not only that we already have a starting point, but we also have a continuation. So we already know that we can continue to work like this, and we have a continuation. There we have 2 points in space. The third level is not only that we have a starting point, we have a continuation, but we also have a limit. We have also a limit in between where we can work. So this is the purpose, and this is also the purpose of the 3rd dimension. We have a space to work with, and we go narrow it down. This is the narrowing it down. Even if you have an extra dimension, it's actually, this dimension is meant to narrow the possibilities down, that we only can have 3 dimensions. The 4th dimension will not be able to be added in the same way anymore. But that I will explain in the next video. So we have, in each section, in each space, we have 3 levels of strength, let's say. 3 levels of how much this matches with our reference point. So in the first dimension we have the elements, and the first goal was actually to make it work, that we have a starting point. The letter A is the first letter, is our work towards a starting point. It is going towards 1. It's still less than 1, but it's going towards 1. The next letter on the next level, which is also on the first new position, is the U. It is after the starting point. It is the point where you say, okay, here we can continue what we started. So we make a continuation, and that's via the number 2. The last letter is not only the starting point, not only the continuation, but also with a limitation, and this is defining the context. The next letter in each space is the middle letter, and it's the letter where we actually make a confirmation that we had a good idea, we had a starting point, and that starting point had I had some idea how to use the starting point, and here I will use it. So the letter T, the next letter, is also saying, yes, I can use it in my distinction process, and I will do so. So I have distinctions with the letter T. On the next level, the level of the second dimension, the formation process, is there. I say, like, okay, I will perform it indeed, and I will interpret it, and in a way I will also work it out further. And in the third level, of course, I will go and give it a context. I will give it a place where it can be. It deserves its place. It works in a certain place. I know where it is. And the last level, the level of doubt, is a necessary position, because in our logic, in language, it is the language is meant to direct us into the performance, and or that we also will adapt. We will not just adapt a continuation in our logic, add logic on top of it, and on top of it, on top of it, and we will expect that everybody listens and builds up our brilliant logic there. No. The last part is the testing phase. The testing phase says, okay, we have a starting point, but does it work in reality? It depends on my performance. It depends on my interpretation. And that's what the K does. It tries to continue, but can it still do that? And it will have a result depending on how well it is in this rhythm of reality, how well it will continue to perform. Also, the next in the next phase of 2, you have this testing performance. The testing performance at the end of the second level of the formation process, it's the letter B. It also tries to continue, but it's also testing its performance if it can work in full reality or not. And in the last level, the level of the 3 dimensions, the X is also breaching its dependency of performance, because it says because it also there it says, like, does it still fit in my logic and in the limits of this space? It already tries to go further, go beyond it. It already no longer fits very well, but it will find its own continuation. So in the last level, of course, you have the diagonals. The diagonals is the deviation that you say, okay, you have to go somewhere else, you have to adapt. And in the K, it was a matter of that something is not perfect. So something is even wrong, and some other things are right. So before I can continue, there needs to be an adaptation. That was my first moment of adaptation, because it's one-dimensional. It cannot do the 2 things at the same time, or it cannot follow just one thing at the same time. It needs this adaptation, and it needs this breaking point where something needs to change and adapt and go to another level, go to another solution. It's not there. It's not there in the one-dimensional world. You have to go to the next dimension. And also in the second dimension, the formation process, the B, is something will work, and some will work out further, and other things will be limited to work out further. Also there depends on the context on the next level. And also the X will have the same ideas there. It will try to have a performance of its own, and it will not be able to do that within the limitations of the space where it comes from. The X wants to go elsewhere. So there's a doubtful positioning with K. There's a doubtful formation with B. And it has a doubtful place where if it still belongs there or not with the X. And the three levels also have some mathematical ideas which are needed. And it's you not only have the multiplication, you also have the root idea. The root of 1 exists as well. It is saying that we have a definition of 1, and this definition, it has to work. So it's a definition. You don't use it, you don't use the root of 1, but it is about the definition. Normally the definition should be correct. Otherwise it would not work, and it would not have this neutral element of 1. The square of 2 is used very often in mathematics. The square of 2 is like a multiplication with itself. It is a multiplication in 2 ways, so it's horizontal and vertical, and it is the formation process itself. It actually says, where do you have these roots? Where can you find these roots in physics? You can always find these roots where a formation process is working on its own. It's working on its own, so when you have a power on its own, it's with a multiplication of itself. It has power on its own. It has a formation process on its own. That's why you have the root of 2. And you have also the root of 3, which was always a reference point to the context of spaces. I don't have an example where you have it in mathematics where you need the root of 3, but okay, let's stick with what we know for the moment. So basically the root of 1 says, okay, this is a thing, I have an element where I can work with. The root of 2 is an activity where you can work with, and you have of course also the spatial reality on its own. Now, do you need the horizontals, the verticals and the diagonals? I have a system in my letters and the letter combinations where I explain how horizontals and verticals and diagonals are used in a certain order. And the order of the letters there in this system already tells you if we are dealing with horizontal, vertical or diagonal. Are they so important? It's only important if we are emphasizing the differences. If we say, okay, which difference do we have? Okay, then we use the horizontal, the vertical, the diagonal. But in a way, it's not 100% necessary to use it all the time. Anyhow, in the diagonal, we know that there is a correction on its way that we need, because there's a misconduct as well, so there's a correction. That's in the diagonal positions that you can show it. Normally it's actually just one direction in the K because it's in one dimension, but that's not what it is. It goes in 2 directions, something wrong, something not wrong, together in 1 dimension. That's more how you have to see it, together. So that has to make a jump to something completely different. It has to jump to a solution. The formation process in the 2 dimensions goes, of course, if you add up letter forms with a B, you have also this breaking point in 2 directions. You can use it to continue from there to add up new forms. And the X as well uses this reference point of breaking the things apart that you don't need anymore, but it's the performance itself. The X, as you can see, has a middle point. The purpose of the X is to remain independent. Just think about the X and you know what I mean. So the A then is of course the horizontal. You only need the horizontal if you say, okay, I have a continuation of what I have and I continue also what I have, then you need the horizontal. With the U, the same thing. You have the A, everything is neutral. The next level then goes to yes and no again. So it's also, these things are always adding up. So you have a neutral element and then a yes and a no, and then you try to get back to a neutral element. That's the order that you also already have in 3. So in the U you have a positive element and a negative element, so something that adds up and something else that doesn't not add up, just like with the K. It's the next letter after the K. But here you simply show what works and does not, and do not show what does not work, and that's how you can continue. That's the adaptation. After the continuation, it's already the adaptation. And with the 3rd level, after the continuation, then an adaptation, and you have this positive and negative. You already you continue like this, as if you're making a continuous selection. So you continue the selection that you already did in U. That's kind of thinking process from level to level. The verticals as well, you can use them when you need them. It's not 100% necessary, because when do you need a T? That's the 2nd level. You have A, T and K in 1. The A, the new element. The T, the confirmation of the element. So you confirm the general flow of the A. And how do you do that? By adding a new element. This adding a new element is on top of it, so vertical. Or you just continue what you have, and that's also you can also express it like that. But if you want to emphasize what is different here, you need a vertical to show that, or the vertical line even to show that. The 2nd level is about formation process in the 2 dimensions. What's the middle part? The L. There you need not just 1 point, but 2 points, and also in the vertical. So something is added, something is not added yet. So you also add up what works. So you add up what works, and how can you show that? By adding this in the on top of it in the vertical. Does that mean that, for instance, words like length or long are all vertical? No, but they have you make a distinction by the vertical, or by adding something up so that you can compare it. So it is useful to use it. It's not necessary to use it. And the last letter there, the M, on the 3rd level in the 3-dimensional space, you need 3 points, and these 3 points are getting back to the selection of you let something grow and you let something not grow, and only what is neutral grows into a fulfillment in space. That's what the M is about. It's not filling up everything, it's only filling up what is neutral. It's filling up everything it can, or everything it cannot will not be added, but it will have a full fulfillment in space. So as a result, you have in the 1st dimension, the T will fill in elements, ideas, distinctions. The L will continue to fill in, so it will further fill it up, and when it's completely filled up in space as much as it can, it's fulfilled, as you can see. This might have been a video that was a bit more for the more advanced people who already experimented a little bit and already saw some videos before. But here it is good to have some of the foundations of the theory re-examined and redone and thought about it, and why are we thinking in that way? Why is there the structure? Why are the letters at that position? Or why are we thinking in a certain way with these positions? All these letters have a tendency to behave in a certain way, and this behaviorism is best that you know it as good as possible and also know why it is there, why it is behaving as such. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed. This was Gerald Tuavandoise, the website too, with a list of demonstrations. Thanks again. Bye bye.